Hi, I'm here to do my refutation speech on Planned Parenthood. My opponent claims that Planned Parenthood has a positive effect on communities in the United States, and she supports this with secondary claims. The first being that Planned Parenthood provides sex education on the society. And second, Planned Parenthood can help lower the spread of STDs. And third, that Planned Parenthood helps decrease the percentage of teen pregnancies. I'm here to prove that Planned Parenthood has a small role in communities in the United States. And in her first claim states that Planned Parenthood provides sex education to the society. Furthermore, she states that they provide education and outreach to 1.5 million young people and adults each year. There are 29 million teenagers in the US from the census website. But she fails to specify the types of programs they offer and how effective they are. In fact, one particular sex educational program called Abstinence Only Until Marriage that they provide, Boomstra from Sex Education states that there's no evidence to date that abstinence only until marriage education delays teen sexual activity. Moreover, research shows that abstinence-only strategies may deter contraceptive use among sexual active teens, increasing the risk of unintended pregnancies and STIs. In addition, in a 2007 congressionally mandated study found that the federally funded abstinence-only programs have no beneficial impact on young people's sexual behaviors. Leading to the second point that she makes. Her second point is that Planned Parenthood can help the spread of STDs. She goes over the types of STDs, prevention, and treatment services that Planned Parenthood provide, but she fails to give any statistical evidence that Planned Parenthood have actually helped reduce the spread of STDs. From the CDC website, STDs are one of the most critical health challenges facing the nation today. CDC estimates that there are 19 million new infections every year in the United States, with chlamydia and gonorrhea increasing from year to year. From the stats and analysis overview, there are 3.2 million teenager girls between the ages of 14 and 19 that have one or more of the four most commonly sexually transmitted diseases, despite the fact that millions of tax dollars are given to comprehensive sex education by Planned Parenthood. Her last point states that Planned Parenthood helps decrease the percentage of teen pregnancies. In actuality, steering from the Washington Examiner states that contraceptive services at Planned Parenthood have dropped 12% since 2009, and cancer screening and prevention services have dropped by 29%. The new study cites a July 2012 gut-matcher study called Changes in the Use of Long-Active Contraceptive Methods in the U.S. The 2012 study underlines Planned Parenthood's ramped-up push for IUDs and implants in young women who have never before given birth, a use which is not approved by Bayer, the manufacturer of the much-advertised Mirena IUD. In fact, Bayer warns that the device is only approved for women that have previously given birth. My opponent has made a lot of assumptions that Planned Parenthood and its services help communities out, but failed to give any statistical evidence on that. Where I came to find out that there are some sex educational programs that have no positive outcome. STDs rates in the United States have increased, and contraceptive services at Planned Parenthood have dropped. Thank you.
Right, Alex, everything is really clear when you're following the argument. You do excellent signposting as you develop the presentation. Your counterclaim basically isn't to deny that they have had some impact, but rather to kind of minimize that impact and diminish it to a relatively small proportion of any benefit whatsoever. On the first point, I think you say, it provides 1.5 million contacts. I think the advocate's own evidence said among teenagers and adults, so it wasn't just limited to teens. And then I think you follow up with a pretty good piece of information here that there are 29 million teens in the United States. So it doesn't sound like they're reaching all that many people. It's definitely a small percentage. The absence-only program, I think you need to demonstrate that that's a Planned Parenthood program. My understanding is that Planned Parenthood is typically more comprehensive than the abstinence only, and so I think this is a valid argument if Planned Parenthood promotes abstinence only programs, but if they don't, then this argument doesn't do you any good whatsoever. And so that would be, like if I was responding to your argument, that would be the first thing I'd be looking at there, because intuitively, I think abstinence-only programs are the ones that compete with the Planned Parenthood programs. So I'm not sure that that's the best way to go. But I do think, for instance, that the data that you had later on suggests that there hasn't been any significant impact even with the programs that are available. The two particular things that you're talking about, STDs and pregnancies, I think are a little bit more effectively talked about. For example, there's been a substantial increase in the number of sexually transmitted infections. We have a large number in the category that supposedly Planned Parenthood is supposed to be providing benefits and services on, and we don't really have any data that says Planned Parenthood did anything that affected this. I think you challenged the lack of evidence that the advocate presented on that point. I thought that was really effective. And then you've got a counterclaim that says, look, it's going up, so I don't know how effective they can be. If it's going up, what the hell are they doing in this situation? And then the same thing on the third point, when you in essence say, look, they're spending on these kinds of pregnancy or birth control issues has gone down substantially, 12% for instance, and the one program that they are emphasizing so much, which are these IUDs and implants, the manufacturer thinks this is the exact wrong thing to do. So you've got an interesting argument here, and that there's a counterclaim that says they're actually spending less than they did, so they can't be nearly as productive as the advocate is saying, and the thing that they're emphasizing has potential negative or has a potential downside to it. That's a good counterclaim on that point. I thought you had a good summary of the argument at the end as well. Thank you.